Hello, good evening, and welcome to yet another live on our phenomenal Goddess Gathering tour. And tonight I've got with me a friend that's been with me since really the start of the Goddess Gatherings, Claire Ryan Heatley. Hi, Claire, how are you doing? It's great to see you.
Oh, hello, Lilia. So lovely to be here. And yes, was there at the beginning, and it was such a pleasure to be. And it's wonderful to see how it's growing.
Yes,
And
and you also came to the community as well, didn't you? When
yeah, and
around
that
the
was really special. I've been meaning to make it happen to go back again, but maybe 2024 is the year, Lilia, because
yes.
it's just such a gift, such a healing space.
It's beautiful, I know, and but time, it's just time, isn't it? I think everybody's saying like, "What?" It's something that we're all juggling with. So anyway, let's talk about what you're doing at the Goddess Gathering. So you've always really been very much about the energy system and the energy centers or the chakras or whatever. And that's you're going to absolutely love the biofield viewer because it shows up the colors of the aura and the chakras. Oh my God, it's incredible. So can you just start off by telling us how you got into this? Because it's invisible, really. That's the thing, isn't it? I think that's why a lot of people in the West were like, well, you can't see it. How can it be there? But now, obviously, we can photograph it.
Well, it's really exciting that we can, because it's validating what we already knew. You know, the ancient systems knew this from the very beginning, because we're energetic beings. Before, above and all anything else, we're energetic beings, and sometimes our human head can't get our head around that. So it's about head and heart, of course. But even if we think at the most basic sense of the fact of, if we have an EEG or an ECG, if we're having tests done in the hospital, they capture our energy frequency, our energetic waves. And somehow that's okay, and we don't question that. But yet, if we're talking about energy healing or energy flow, that just seems a bit woo-woo, a bit strange, a bit out there. And it's incredible how we embrace some aspects, and then the bit that we don't quite understand, we reject. So my background was healthcare originally. I was a nurse, and I kind of found myself falling into the holistic modality because it felt more right to me to see the whole person, to look at the root cause, to bring body, mind, soul, and spirit into the equation. And my first kind of step on that journey was when I was about 21 or 2, I suppose. I discovered Reiki, and it just made so much sense. Because to me, it felt like coming home. It felt like it was a missing piece of the puzzle, that idea that we're connected to something bigger than ourselves, and we can harness that energy and utilize it to be well, to be in harmony, to be in flow. So it started from there.
Yeah, fantastic. That's quite interesting because exactly the same story I hear a lot. That Reiki's the thing that kind of initiates the I don't know, I suppose opens the space for us to start to feel and experience and realize that there's a lot of stuff that we can't see that's having a big impact in our lives. And I think, I think it was 1984 or 86, they actually started to capture the pictures of the meridian system and it was only then that we believed it. Or as you say, thousands of years the Chinese have been working with this energy system. So it's pretty exciting now because obviously it's so important for your physical health, isn't it? Because depending on which energy center is not allowing information exchange can depend on what organs underneath will get affected.
Very much so. And when we think about energy and the chakras and the energy flow, I mean, I love color. You'll know me, Lilia, that I love color, and color for me is a huge part of how I understand what's going on for me in my body. So at the moment I'm wearing red. Red is the root chakra. It's about us feeling kind of rooted and grounded in our body. I've had a busy time. There's been quite a bit going on in my world the last few days. It's about giving us that vital life force energy to kind of rise to the occasion and do what we need to do. And when we can understand that something in us knows that we're having a blue day, we choose this, or we're drawn to food, we're drawn to colors, we're drawn to certain types of music, depending on what it is we need. We follow our intuitive kind of a state of knowing or guidance. But when we can start consciously becoming aware of why we do this and why it makes us feel better and what's going on in our world, in terms of energetically and at a deeper level, it just all feels like, instead of pushing against the tide and instead of it feeling so hard and confusing and random, it just feels like there's a lot more flow, and that we have a lot more kind of, I suppose, empowerment as well, in the sense of we have tools, we have knowledge, we have understanding, and we can harness these tools to enhance our state of well-being on the days where we need more energy, when we're, we can use, whether it's a modality like Reiki, or whether it's a food choice, or whatever it is we need to shift our vibration and to support it. I know you always, talk about we are vibrational beings, and everything is vibration and everything is energy. And it's such a gift to ourselves and each other and the world when we can open to embrace that.
Yeah, do you know, at the farm it's really interesting because we grow a lot of edible flowers, and this year we had, you make these big salads from the garden and put all the flowers over the top of them, and people would just come in and immediately, most, I'm sure it wasn't 100% of people, but most people would just be like, and you're like, let's face it, it's not the most delicious food to eat in that stuff. It's nice when you put a beautiful dressing on it and when it's part of something else, but there's definitely something, because I've watched the reaction of people and I've thought, what are they reacting to? It's like the body's like, yes, get that get that inside me. There's an absolute innate intuitive understanding that foraging all these little bits and pieces, you've got huge diversity points obviously, but it's the colour. If it's all just green, people don't just go, but when you've got all the different colours of the rainbow in there, that is what people love. It's the same with all the krauts. When you've got all the different coloured krauts out, people just, it is innate. And I've really watched that. So it's almost like the body's like that, right? Come on, get that in. That you need more of that.
Whereas, we know, intuitively know, don't we?
Absolutely. And that's what's so fascinating. So there's so many different ways. And I think, me, it's very much from a Heal Scotland perspective about educating people on all the things that you can do yourself for free. I refuse to believe that, you can only heal if you're rich. I absolutely refuse to believe that. So a lot of the stuff we want to bring is giving people tools to use at home and a deeper understanding, because the mission statement is educate, inspire, support. And it's really inspiration and education to help people understand about the invisible. That I keep saying I'm going to write a book, Healing with the Invisible, and understanding and feeling into it, right? Because that's where I think sometimes the eyesight takes us away from the magic, because we're so busy thinking, well, that's what I see. And also allopathic medicine, it's very much about there's a pain there, so see an arm specialist, rather than, the understanding of the whole thing. And obviously, especially emotional stuff and trauma from the past, and which we all have. I think I think we've gone a wee bit skew-if on that as well. But definitely we're carrying information, aren't we, that's come in via the energy system and can land in the physical body.
And I think it's just about remembering that we innately know and we have all we need to heal within us, because we were created by something infinitely wiser than us. We don't have to make our nails grow. We don't have to make our hair grow. We don't have to say, take that next breath, and balance our complex biochemistry in our body that we can't even begin to understand. So the body has a natural ability to do what it needs to do, but we get in the way with our thinking, as you said, the thoughts and the trying to logic and the reason, instead of just coming back to trusting, what is it that I need to support me now in this moment? And sometimes it is just a breath, it's a pause, it's connection, it's an undoing and an unlearning very often, because we have become conditioned to become human doings. We're supposed to be human beings. We're supposed to be in a state of stillness, a state of connection. And we're not supposed to be so fragmented, but we're so fragmented and pulled in so many different directions that it is causing real imbalance and disease in our system. And there's things that get in the way of that balance and that flow and that harmony, a bit like kinks in the hose pipe, if you like. And that may be trauma, energy that is trapped, whether it's emotional or whether it's physical, in the sense of misalignment in our spine, or whether it's because we're not getting enough water, so our body and our lymph and our blood, our lymph and our energetic system can't flow and move through. So there's always a source reason as to why we're not being in our true state of being. And it's about getting curious and not I think getting away from the mindset as well that we're broken and we need fixed. No, we're not broken and we don't need fixed. We've just forgotten what we need to remember, and forgotten what we innately know. So some of this is about unlearning, and it's about surrendering, and it's about letting go and trusting, and being a bit lighter with it all, because sometimes it can feel so heavy and dense that I have to eat healthy, and I have to do this, and I have to do that. And that in itself puts a stress and imbalance in our system, because it wasn't meant to be
Absolutely.
so hard.
Absolutely. And you know, over the Christmas period there, my daughter wasn't well, the one that's got two young, well, they're not young, they're like 11 and 9, but so I was down there helping her, and obviously she's got a dog as well, and a salon, a business. And you know, you just suddenly remember, my God, you know, it's like up in the morning, all the things you have to do. And then you have to do them all again the next day, and the next day, and the next day. And you know, it was actually really, it was a good reminder for me, because I've got a very nice, open, semi-retired space. I mean, I never stop, because I'm always learning and researching and doing stuff for Heal Scotland. But suddenly there was things that, you know, that you have to do, and kids have to get fed, and you have to shop, and yada yada yada. And I thought, God, no wonder people are getting sick. We're just, how can you do all of that and enjoy it and work?
Yeah.
You can't.
No.
You're rushing, get the kids out, and you're constantly having to think ahead. You know, it's mums in particular, and I know dads are in that position as well, but you know, so many young mums that come to me, and I'm like, you know, yes, I can help and I can give direction, like you say, but that could just add more stress.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Things need to change.
Yeah, it's a whole system, whole societal change that needs to happen, where we need to stop and catch ourselves and go, hold on a minute. I'm on this hamster wheel. Is it really meeting my needs? Is it fulfilling me? Is it bringing me joy? I remember years ago, because I've been an eternal searcher and seeker for, it feels like, all of my life, if not, you know, maybe lifetimes, who knows. And I remember thinking, so what is it all about? And why am I here? And what is the purpose of this life? And having connected with Reiki and exploring more energetic stuff, it felt like it was part of the puzzle, but I was still trying to make sense of it all. And I remember reading something by the Dalai Lama, and it kind of really made me go, that the purpose of life is to be happy. And I thought, really? Is that what I'm here for? So I don't have to be perfect, and I don't have to get it right all the time. And I don't have to save the world and end world starvation or poverty or whatever. I just have to be happy. Is it really as easy as that? Because we're so conditioned to believe as well that it's about the outward achievement and striving, and that it's this whole idea of, you know, the competitiveness, and that sense of urgency and push, that it needs to be about something out there, and it needs to be material, and something inside of us feels really at odds with that, and we feel empty, and we feel uncertain, and we feel what's wrong with me, because at an inner level our truth knows it's not my truth, and there's something about letting it all fall away and following the thing that feels right and brings me joy. And I know, you know, I'm a mum of 2, I'm a stepmom of 3, we've got 2 dogs, 2 horses, life's busy, I work full time, there's a lot going on in my world, and sometimes I have to catch myself and remind myself, in this moment there's perfect joy right there. The little puppy who might have just torn a whole thing of tissue all over the place, but it's like, let's not lose perspective here, let's remember what's important. That can be dealt with, that can be undone, but how precious are you, and how lovely is this moment? So yes, there may be mess all over the floor, and there may be piles of washing to be done, but there's something about not losing the magic in the midst of it all, and remembering what really matters for
Well,
me.
exactly.
Yeah.
No, absolutely, because I had to go back to that. You know, you're going to do it with humility and gratitude that you're actually capable and fit and well enough to do it, you know, when other people aren't. So yeah, you do. Always said that. Let's see how smart the Dalai Lama is. Give him a wife and 8 kids, and let's see how zen. But of course, he understands that's not it.
But you know, Lilia, there's something in that as well, because I know before I kind of went down the road of getting into serious relationship and becoming a mum and choosing to be in this life, I seriously thought about going and spending time in an ashram, or, you know, traveling and really being drawn to a spiritual community, because that spiritual yearning was there. And there's something about, that's easy. this is hard. Showing up and walking the talk,
Absolutely.
living your truth in the reality of messy life is where
Yeah.
it's really difficult. And some of what I'm kind of going to be addressing in the Goddess Gathering is a bit around that, because for me, it's the how do I show up as I believe first and foremost, I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. And for me, the bigger picture is really, really important. And it's a big part of my why. But that's fine. Alongside that, there's washing to be done and bills to be paid and job, there's all of that other stuff. So how do we hold on to the essence of who and what we are and what's important to us and what can sustain us through that, so we remember the essence of who we are in a world that sometimes feels really hard and tricky, and where the juggling it can be really, really not so effortless. We know about flow and we know about surrender, and then there's the reality, and it's like, how do we find peace with that and find a place where I'm honoring the things that really matter to me, and I'm feeling, if today was my last day on this earth plane, if it was my last breath, that I would feel a sense of it wasn't wasted, and today, well, I made today matter to me. So for me, it's things like you mentioned balance, and you mentioned flowers. I use essential oils a lot, and one of the ones I'm using at the moment is an essential oil called Balance, and it brings in the quality of trying to hold all of that while still being in my center.
Yes. Do you know, I've really recently, some of this, I'm studying with this Dr. Deborah Drake in Canada, and she's actually just won a prize at the World Organization of Natural Doctors, because she's just, her overview is like nothing I've ever seen. She's an MD, Chinese doctor, Ayurveda, um, sound, light, essential
Wow.
oils. And one of her trainings, she was just talking about how, and I mean, this is obvious when you think about it, but you know how people just say things and you're like, so you're breathing them in, and of course the nerve endings bring it into the brain, and the whole body has this experience because it's a vibration, right?
Yeah.
And it's so powerful. And again, just because we are completely ruled by the pharmaceutical model, it's like all these things are just, oh, that's a wee spa thing, go and have a nice bath and put, and you're like, no, this stuff has got like the power to really change, because it comes from nature. They come
Yeah.
from, that, well, obviously there's all different kind of levels of quality, but you're getting good essential oils. I mean, and the process is such a magical process. And
It's
you're getting,
nature's medicine. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I must say I'm really getting a much deeper connection to the oils now. And of course, you can imagine my daughter's house is like a spa. She's got the sauna, she's got the red light, she's got the essential oils, frankincense. She's got every supplement in her fridge and beyond. Because I'm like, no, we need to balance this system. But it's just, it takes time, doesn't it? It's
Yeah.
patience. And
And it's about trusting that we will find the right thing, and not going to become, in one breath I'm saying I'm a seeker, and I think I always will be. But it's about trusting that what I'm seeking right now will find me, and I don't really, it doesn't have to be so tricky and hard, because I know there's a lot of noise out there, there's a lot of information, and sometimes we can feel so confused. But it's like, sit with it and see, does it feel like a good fit for me? Does it bring a sense of ease in my body, in my nervous system? Does it land, and does it feel comfortable for me to turn towards it? And if it doesn't, then we know it's not right, no matter what the head says or somebody else says. And the thing that's really interesting about essential oils, when I learned this, I thought, oh, that makes so much sense. You mentioned trauma, but essential oils are one of the ones that will bypass the brain and go straight to that fear center in the brain, and bring that sense of ease and that sense of balance to the nervous system. So it's an instant, that way you smell something, it takes you back to a time and place.
yes.
The essential oils, and that's ability for the olfactory nerves to take us into a place of nervous system reset, and feeling that ease rather than that distress is really, really powerful.
Well, and that's what we're looking for. Simple things that people can do at home. Because, that reality is, if you've got young kids, and especially if you're a single parent, but they come home from school, you can't go out again. You're in the house, so you can't, even if you've got money, you need to get a babysitter in to get out to a class or to see somebody, and you may not have the cash. I mean, they've hiked up the mortgages, they've hiked up the heating. So, it's an unusual time for us to be on this planet. Things can be very challenging. So that's why I'm really passionate about bringing stuff that people can go, oh, I could do that, rather than going, like here, do the Gerson diet. You know, it's so extreme that it's just like, I got enough on my plate. I just cannot make these enormous changes. But but we keep bringing this information and all the new things, and like, I could do that, you know. So it's something that you can add in that you're going to get a benefit from. And, you know, there's lots of brilliant healers and nutritionists and naturopaths and herbalists out there for sure. But if you can't access that, because people always want to say, you need this, you need that, you need that. And I'm like, let's just strip it right back. You don't. We all have that innate capacity to tune into the divine, to God, whatever word you want to call the field, the unified field, is that's the way I kind of see it. We all have that capacity. And, you know, Joe Dispenza's work now, he's got people sitting in meditation. The science coming out is phenomenal. And what that's going to do is make people realize, God, I have got a power within. So can you talk about your workshop? Because you're going to be in Dundee. So that's our next goddess gathering. Oh my God, we had so much fun in Glasgow and Edinburgh. So I'm really excited to be going round, you know, to cities that we don't really know as well. So it's fantastic. And meeting all you guys. We've got an amazing
so excited. Yeah, so excited to be in Dundee and to be in a community of people, to be sitting in a space, connecting, where in that moment, all of the defenses are able to fall away, and we're just able to show up as in a connected space and be with what is in the moment, what's arising in the moment. So I'm going to bring in a lot of, like I said, what sustains me. So I'm going to weave in kind of some of the messages that have been instrumental in helping me find that inner sense of calm and balance, the things that I kind of come back to again and again when I lose my way, when life feels too much, when it feels like I'm being blindsided, or the old stuff comes up, the old messaging, whether you might want to call them trauma or old programs or patterns or limiting beliefs or whatever you want to call them, the things that say, I can't, it's too much, it's too hard, whatever. And it's the what is it that sustains me. So there's something, I think, about having a practice that roots us, that grounds us in remembering who we are, but for it to be a simple practice, because as you say, it's not always possible to sit in meditation for start your day in an hour, to then go and do your fresh juice and go and do your wild swim, you know, all these things that are lovely in an ideal world, and maybe we'll be able to bring elements of them into how we go. Because something I think is really important about is how we remind ourselves that we can't do everything, but we can do something. And in this moment, what choice can I make that will support me to feel greater ease, greater peace, more aligned with my true essence. And in doing that, it re-energizes us, it rebalances our energetic system, it brings us into energetic alignment. So when we think of chakra healing, it's the choosing that food in that moment, choosing that thought in that moment, choosing that nature exposure in that moment, or that vibrational piece of music. So I'm going to be weaving some of the core messagings in, with a big part of that is about it's coming up to Valentine's weekend, this idea that if we are not able to find a place and a connection with ourselves that says, I deserve this too, I matter, because as busy mothers, wives, partners, women of the world, sometimes we're not even on our busy to-do list. And if we're not there front and center, how are we going to do the things that sustain us, but also how are we going to show up to be what the light we want to be in the world, to model that to our children and our sphere of influence and the people around us. So it's drawing in those things. So some of the messaging, but also the using music. For me, music is really healing. Music is a vibration, movement is a vibration, the essential oils is a vibration, and just a little bit of ritual, because ritual connects us to the ancestors that's gone before us, to the something that is bigger than us. We may not know what to call it, we may not have a name for it, and we don't need to have a name for it, but we know that we're not on our own with this, and that there is something about allowing ourselves to remember, to reconnect with ourselves, our own knowingness, our own beingness, and to reconnect with each other. We're meant to be in a community, in a space that feels safe, because for far too long it hasn't been safe to be real, to be vulnerable, to be authentic in our world. And thankfully we're coming back to that now. You know, we're at the time where the divine feminine, the divine masculine is starting to come into alignment, but at times for far too long in our world, there has been the wounded feminine, there has been the wounded masculine energy at play, and that wounding has driven behavior and choices that has led us further away from our true essence and our true nature. So it hasn't always been safe for women to sit together in a circle and be real and be vulnerable and connect, because of that separation. That it was our true nature once upon a time. We sat around the fire, we sat in communities, and we're starting to find our way back to that in safety. So it's a little bit of all of those things, really. So it's not any one modality per se, it's just about the messaging of vibrational medicine and what is it that enriches my state of beingness, and how do I feel vibration in my body? How do I know where there's holding? So a little bit about helping us maybe identify where there might be a block, and what is it I need in this moment to release that block. And we get very hung up on knowing what it is. What is it? Is it this? Is it sadness? Is it? We don't always need to name. It can help sometimes to name, but sometimes we just need to feel into it and trust, and bring our own intention to heal, to release, to come back into balance, and then breathe it out, to let it go, to surrender it to source.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, with the biofield viewer, there's there's actually three different ways you can view it. So one that will give you more, and it's colour, right? So all you're looking at is how that colour's flowing, and the darker the colours, the slower the vibration. So it's fairly intuitive. You know, when you see it at first, you're like, oh my God, the guy that's training me, he blows my mind. The things that you can see from this kind of wobbly mess of colour. He's like, well, something going on there with either a father or her husband. And I tell you what shows up a lot is the jaw and clenching, because obviously that you can see the lymphatic system if it's slow, you can see sadness, you can see which energy centres. So, but again, it doesn't, I mean, I love the toy, it's great, but it's still going to be, but what are you going to do at home to allow more flow, allow more light, literally, isn't it?
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
there's so many, and I include myself in this, gadgets and toys for seeing what's going on in the body, and what areas need to be addressed. But it really doesn't matter at all. I say this to people all the time: don't take the test if you're not ready to make changes. There's no point in knowing any more scary things: parasites, worms, prions, viruses, heavy metals that we've all got. There's no point in confirming that if you're not in a position to make the choices and the changes. That's the big thing, isn't it? Because it's the things that you're doing every day that are making you more vital or less vital. And that's really what we need to be looking at. If you're in community where everybody's sharing, the tasks of bringing up children, talking to children, then that becomes an awful lot easier. And how sitting around a fire or watching the sunset at night is just meditation in itself. It doesn't have to be, on a cross-legged somewhere and, in discomfort for an hour.
No, it's coming back to what feels natural and what feels supportive and what feels good. And as you're talking there, the phrasing, if you like, that's coming into my head is the fact that there's only fear or love. And if we're choosing to do what we're choosing to do from a place of love, to care for ourselves better, to understand better, to heal, if that's our intention, then we can only win, we can only succeed. But if it's fear-based, and so much of what we have known historically is scaremongering, and it is fear-based, and we talk about things like fighting cancer and the battle, and rather than what is it my body needs to heal and come into wholeness. Because to me, healing is a return to wholeness, our true state, and it is a state of wholeness and connection and flow and balance, body, mind and spirit. And returning to I like this analogy that the ocean, if it is all that it is and it has all its essence, but if we take a drop of that ocean and we carry it away in a little glass bottle, it still is all of the ocean in a tiny glass bottle. And we are that drop of that ocean. We're connected from something, we've come from something so much bigger that we can't quite begin to understand. But if we can try and allow ourselves to go away from fear and turn towards love and connection and our true nature, then healing can only but happen. We can't fail to happen.
Exactly. It's just the cells know what to do, and they'll do it when we stop tormenting them. That's what I always say. Stop tormenting your cells. And then they just, give them enough hydration. It's so simple. I was talking to a client the other day who is a nurse, and she's like, we couldn't come from two more, she said, I'm the opposite of you. I'm not holistic. But she's like, I absolutely agree with you say about reconnect to nature, eat good food, make sure your kids are not consuming bags of sugar, make sure that the device is off them at night and they get a good night's sleep. You know, it's really not rocket science.
Basic stuff
But
that
the
we
boundaries have just been blurred, haven't they? It's like, oh, you know, it's so, and it's without really fully realizing that, you know, poor sleep, poor diet, after a few years is going to have an impact on how you can learn, how you can feel, how you can behave, how you can focus, you know.
and there's
So
something stepping into our power and our truth, and again embracing that fact that the expert on us isn't out there. The expert on us is here, and even myself. Relatively recently, I had some stuff going on, and I thought, okay, so I do need to be sensible and get some tests here to make sure that there's nothing medical that I'm not aware of. And then when I got the answers that I needed from a medical viewpoint, I just continue to use things like the healing energy, the bringing my awareness, the breathing into it, the asking what is it there that I'm holding that I needs to release, that's getting in the way of energy flowing, you know, this idea of balance and healing. And it's incredible, the power of our awareness, the power of our breath, like maybe using essential oils, then maybe asking, so where have I been out of alignment? What is the messaging or the learning or the growth opportunity in this? When we get that curious and that trusting way rather than the fear, oh no, and now I need to medicate, and it's like it really is as easy as that. I know it sounds too simplified, but it
you know,
actually really is as easy as that.
it's asking the right questions, you know, talking to the body, talking to the cells that like they are, you know, they are little conscious things that can, you know, that are listening to our every word, our thought, feelings, beliefs, perceptions. And of course, that's when we think, Caroline Mace's terminology is if you have a hostile perception, which obviously the way I would describe that is when your cells are contracted and dark. Whereas if you have an expansive, you know, open perception, then your cells, you can really take the information, take the light, everything that you need for the body to really thrive. Well, listen, I can't wait to see you. And thank you so much for, you know, taking the time out to do this live with me, because I know you've got a lot going on. But I will see you in Dundee.
Wonderful. Can't wait, and to meet all the lovely goddesses that will be there. It's a joy.
Yeah, the tickets are going great. Well, I'm so excited because it's always a bit like, oh, you know, will people be interested? But they are. So it's fantastic.
People are hearing the call because they know they need this, and they're honouring themselves and making it a priority, which is lovely.
And, you know, I think the other thing that we've found is, because for the whole weekend, I didn't want it just to be another come and try this session, come and try that. We're taking people on a journey and giving them actual things to take home that they're going to, you know, they can use themselves. It's like a mini retreat, really, without accommodations. So we want to take people into this journey into the field of inner knowing. So, and also for us that are presenting, it's so nice to take a couple of days just for that. You feel amazing at the end of it. So yeah. So anyway, we'll get off now. Thanks a million, and I'll see you in is it the 10th of Feb, 10th or 11th, somewhere around there.
It's the 10th off my head. Well, see you then. Go well, Lilia, and keep being that vital, fabulous force that you are in the world, because the world.
So
Yeah.
Thanks, ciao.